house should make you feel like you're being watched. The mansion on Wraithmore Hill did just that. It had been empty for years, until Dr. Adrian Vale entered the house with 3 volunteers to study paranormal structural behavior. When they arrived home, it was late afternoon. The sunset seemed to echo one last time in the windows of the enormous mansion. The light passed through the glass and fell to the ground in long, crooked shadows. Dr. Vale wrote something in his notebook as he got out of the car. 3 other people were with him. Eleanor Briggs, a reserved teacher with a quiet tragedy in her past. Theo Marin, an artist famous for his psychic abilities. Luke Harrington, the mansion's heir, who wanted to see it one last time before selling it. The moment they stepped inside, the atmosphere changed. It was as if the outside world had been left behind the door. Wraithmore felt like a place forgotten by time. The walls smelled of centuries-old dampness. The carpets were covered in dried dust, and spider webs hung from the ceiling. But in the middle of the house there was a room unlike any other, the library. As soon as Eleanor stepped inside, she heard a whisper, "Come back." The voice was so close, it was as if someone had leaned in close to his ear. But when he turned around, there was no one there. Dr. Vale spoke while setting up the measuring instruments. Those scary creaks and rustles, they're actually just ordinary echoes produced by the building itself. But our brains, especially in the dark and when we're alone, want to fill that void. We take our own fears and expectations and assign meaning to those random noises. So the sounds in the house may be real, but it's our minds that turn them into ghosts. But Eleanor's eyes were fixed on the ceiling. There was a handprint in the dust, a small childlike hand, and the fingers were pointing down right at her head. When night fell, the house fell completely silent. At 3 o'clock, a humming sound began. At first it was like the wind, then it turned into a heartbeat. Theo whispered, "Can you hear it?" Eleanor shook her head. The sound was coming from inside the house, from behind the walls. With each shot, the wall trembled slightly, as if the house had a heart of its own. The lights in the hallway went out. For a moment, there was only darkness. Then, someone appeared at the top of the stairs. A woman's silhouette. Her face was indistinguishable, but she held a lantern. As the lantern's light flickered on the walls, her shadow stretched long across the room. Theo held his breath, but Luke raised a camera and filmed. The woman's silhouette walked toward them, her steps silent. And just as she approached, the light went out. When morning came, Luke was nowhere to be found. His camera was found at the bottom of the stairs, the screen shattered. But there was only one image on the recording, a door slowly closing. And then the woman's whisper. One person left ... Eleanor rushed to the library. Among the dusty books on the shelves, a portrait caught her eye. The woman in the portrait was the silhouette she had seen last night. Beneath it was written, "Margaret Wraithmore, disappeared in 1887. Dr. Vale quietly took notes. Perhaps your subconscious noticed the portrait, and it returned as a hallucination at night. But Eleanor shook her head. No, I felt his breath. At that moment, the door hinges creaked again. No one had approached, but the door closed by itself and locked. There were mirrors everywhere in the house. Some were cracked, some were darkened. Theo approached a mirror and reached out his hand. "This house doesn't reflect you," he said. "It swallows you." In the mirror, there were shadows moving behind him. But when he turned around, he saw nothing. When he looked back, his reflection was gone. The mirror no longer reflected just the room, but another room. Luke was inside it, but his face was unrecognizable gray, dead, dull. Theo wanted to scream, but no sound came out. A cold hand reached out from inside the mirror and grabbed his hand. Outside, Dr. Vale noticed the walls trembling. The heart of the house was beating again, but this time it was beating faster, and with each beat, the walls drew a little closer. When morning came, the house was silent. Neither Theo nor Luke ... Neither could be found. When the police arrived, only Eleanor was sitting there in the library. Her face was pale as a sheet staring into the void. "I heard the heart of the house," she said. "Now I am a part of it too." Years passed. The mansion on Wraithmore Hill is still there. Every year, a few curious people go inside to investigate paranormal events. And each time, one person is missing.